What's good? Good morning. Welcome to the Central Ohio Hoops Report. We do this every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Streaming live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Like the show, follow the show, share the show, do all that kind of stuff. We do
Send it out, please.
Every Saturday with my man Zach Fleet here, the foremost authority in high school basketball in Central Ohio. So it's only fitting, man. Hey, I'm Derrick Owens Jr. Just in case, you know what I mean. That's how we do. Yeah. So, hey, let's get into it, man. We got a big show lined up for you today, right? We got the Pick Six presented to you by Just Hoops. Just Hoops. We'll get into that later on in the show. Also, we got games going on today. Big tournament.
Capital. Right,
at Capital. We also have an outstanding interview lined up later for you today.
Morgan Safford of Bishop Hartley. This kid's big-time basketball player. Been a star at all the 270 hoops. Anything we've ran, 270 hoops has been a stud, and it's off to a great start at Bishop Hartley this year. So anyone who loves Hartley basketball, loves Morgan, tune in. That'll be we'll be wrapping up the show with that later on. So tune in.
Absolutely. We're gonna get into some scores. We're gonna run down some scores. You had a big night last night, a big day today. Also, please comment on the show. Right?
Yes.
Any of the platforms: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Comment. If there's anything you want to talk about, anything crazy that happened last night or throughout the week, all right, we also had games on Tuesday as well. We'll get into all that. I do see Chris Green checked in. What's up, Aaron Cassidy, your man from the West Side, checking in. What's up, guys? So let's get into it, man. Let's run down some of these scores that we had from last night. We'll talk about a couple of them. Any game that was in our Pick Six we'll get to later. But Centennial, still impressive, coming off the loss to East, but they got a victory last night, 97-57 over International. Granville Christian, 49 to take the loss, 49-60 from Tree of Life. This one I want to get your thoughts on real quick, okay? Yep. Big game in the City League last night, Afrocentric versus Eastmore. Eastmore was coming off the loss to South. We really didn't know what we would get from Eastmore this year, but they bounced back with a big victory and unexpected from Afrocentric's perspective, right?
Maybe. I mean, I think both teams lost a ton last year. With Eastmore and Afrocentric, they both lost about 75% of their scoring, so they're still young teams figuring it out. They're led primarily by non-seniors. For Eastmore last night, Julian Benford was the difference. The junior point guard, he's sat behind Tavion Kinsey and Randy Overson and guys like that for the last couple of years, so for him stepping up and being the man this year, a performance like last night's a good one to beat a tough Afrocentric team, on the road. So that's a great win for Eastmore. It probably gives them some confidence going forward. Obviously, in the City League South, it's a gauntlet between Walnut Ridge and South at the top. So
absolutely,
if they can establish themselves, there in the top half, maybe 3 or 4th, that'll really help them. So
Speaking of the City League South, the Bulldogs from South, they get the victory last night, 90-45. We're going to be talking about them a little bit later. They've got a big game today. Walnut Ridge, they also get the victory, 73-58 over Independence. Von Cameron continues to stay on fire.
Yeah, well, their front court combined for 54 points and 26 rebounds last night. So
this is something that they're doing every night.
Yeah, well,
50 and 20.
I think with Kavion Ross having that breakout game against South last week,
yes,
they kind of realized what they have there in the front court. So we talked about it all offseason when Kavion came over that the front court is going to be the difference. So that's going to be interesting to watch if they can keep getting those guys involved and Von Cameron continues to put up 35 points a game. They're going to be a tough out for anybody.
Absolutely. Briggs, they get the victory over Mare Franklin, 68-56. A shocker, and we'll talk about this more in the pick six, definitely. But Beechcroft, I thought it was a shocker because I thought Northland had kind of regained their claim on the City League North. But Beechcroft gets the victory, 67-62 last night. Mifflin over Westone, 60-50. East, which have been playing well, knocking off some teams, they fall last night to Linden, 58-47. Talk about that a little bit.
For Linden, that's a great one, and for the City League North, that shakes things up because East, with Northland going down last night, East, if they would have won, they'd be in control of first place in City League North. So for Linden to get, that's a big win for them because they've been struggling here recently. And they had a trio that went for double figures last night that were all freshmen or sophomores.
Wow.
So you had Shamarion Rogers and Chance Gross, both sophomores combined for 27 points, and then a guy that started the season on JV and has kind of risen up in the last week or two is LB Towns, who's a freshman.
LB, shout out.
About 5'5". He had 10 points last night, probably their best shooter on the team. That's a big win. They had to go on the road and beat a rival. So now every team in the City League North has at least one loss. So it's going to be
a dogfight.
No, I mean, everyone's in the running now, so that'll be interesting to watch going forward.
A team that's impressive that we're going to keep an eye on going throughout the year, Delaware Hayes, they get the victory over Worthington Kilbourne, 69-51. Mount Vernon, they take the loss to Ashland, 73-56. Newark, they get a big victory over Big Walnut, 58-50. Olentangy Orange, 80-73 over Westerville South. And Westerville South was a team that just moved into your rankings. Yep. What kind of setback is this for them? Well,
South had been there. Yeah. South had been in the rankings since the very beginning. For Orange, that's a big win.
That's what I was going to ask you. How big of a win for this?
It's huge. It's huge because at that point, up to this point, they really hadn't won that signature game yet. Now you go on the road, you beat South. That's the Kalo Bowl, as they like to call it. So son beat father there. And I think it was a big game for Andre Irvin, the sophomore guard. He had 20 points, and Bryson Lane, the senior, had 22. So if that backcourt can continue to produce like that, I think it's going to be key for Andre to be a secondary scorer for them because you know what you're going to get from seniors like Bryson Lane and Luke Ballinger.
Yes.
If he can continue to put up performances like that, Orange could be a team that maybe they surprise some folks in the OCC Buckeye this year because there's really not an easy league game anywhere in that division. The team in last place right now that's 0-3 in league play is Westerville North, and they have talent all over. So they can beat anybody at any time. So for Orange, I think it's a big confidence win to go on the road and be a tough team like South.
Upper Arlington, 66-46 over Westland. Dublin Kaufman, 96-58 over Marysville. I'm waiting for Dublin Kaufman to have some of these tougher games later in the year.
Well, they put up 96 points, and they didn't have a single guy score more than 20 last night. So that's team scoring. Like when you scored 96 and Dom Penn and Luke Bartimas combined for 19,
that's impressive.
You got some scorers on the team. So
Absolutely.
Kaufman is going to be someone you can't sleep on them. They got guys who can score, and they're pretty deep too. They can go about an 8 or 9 deep. So
it's going to be a good year for them, I feel, definitely. Pick Central versus Reynoldsburg. This is a game that I was at last night. We'll talk about this more in the Pick 6 as well. Pick Central gets the 7-point victory, 52-45 over Reynoldsburg. Hilliard Bradley, 60-51 over Dublin Jerome. Thomas Worthington, 45-34 over Dublin Scioto. Sean Jones. Who?
Sean Jones.
Man, he continues to impress, 69-63 over Grove City, leading that team there. Groveport, they get back on the winning track, 46-37 over New Albany. Another game that we'll talk about in our Pick 6. You just talked about this team, Westerville North. They take the loss last night to Olentangy Liberty, 71-63. We'll talk about that more for sure. Canal Winchester, 71-44.
Undefeated.
Yeah, let's talk about Canal just for it.
Canal 6-0. We haven't mentioned them yet. They have a trio there that's been really productive, but the guy who's broken out for them is a junior. His name's Bilal Sow. 6'4" forward. He's got about a 6'9" wingspan. He's a kid that started on JV last year and really had a breakout performance against Pickerington North, where I believe he hit 4 or 5 threes and finished with about 15 points. He's been their most reliable scorer so far, but you still have guys like Brady Snyder, who's a senior, and Cole Metzler, another junior. So those three, the OCC capital's pretty open. Newark's won 23 straight games, but Big Walnut gave him a test yesterday, and Big Walnut led 17-9 after the first quarter. Canal's got a little more firepower than Big Walnut does. They're bigger, and they're going to be able to match up with Newark pretty well. So I'm excited when those two teams match up. I'm going to have to get there because if Canal's undefeated and Newark's still rolling at that point, that could be one of the better games in the area.
Absolutely. So Canal Winchester under the radar, but not here on the Central Ohio Hoops Report. We want them. Pick North, they get the victory last night, 68-42 over Lancaster. Olentangy, Sean Marks leading those guys over there, 71-47 over Westerville Central. Westerville Central kind of struggling out the gate a little bit.
Yeah, they're young. They also replaced a lot last year. They got a first-year coach. I think they'll figure it out. They're going to fight hard, but a senior to keep an eye on there is Chaz Dixon. He's been their most reliable player up to this point. So they're going to have to figure it out. It's like I said, in that division, there's no easy games, so it's not going to get any easier going out. So for them, they just got to keep coming together and hoping those other guys can step up alongside Chaz.
They get a couple victories there. Bishop Watterson, 53-46 over St. Charles. Hilliard Davidson, 56-34 over Central Crossing. London, 54-36. Now, they had some struggles early in the game, early in the season. They didn't have all their guys, but I see that London is starting to pick up some steam. I
believe
here.
they're 6-1.
Absolutely, only one loss on the year, which is
they haven't.
opening week.
I don't think they've had a winning season in about 15 to 20 years. So to have two sophomores that are doing it for you with Janez Cameron and Trey Woodyard, that's very encouraging for the future. But I think London is here right now, and Division II, that could be a team that is a surprise that can make a run maybe to the district semifinals and maybe even a district final if they can put it all together with those two sophomores. When you got 2 6'5" guys in the front court that are both young, athletic, and full of confidence, anything can happen. So London is a team. They're one of the most furthest Western teams in Central Ohio.
Yes.
Keep an eye on London. The Red Raiders got some talent, and I'm excited to see what those sophomores can do going forward.
Big year for football for London. Backing that up with basketball. That's how you build a solid sports program, man. A couple years of this, no question. Olentangy Berlin, the new school built in Olentangy this year. It's going to be a rough start for them. Football, basketball, track and field, baseball, whatever they go through, just starting up a brand new school. They lose last night, but competitive, 47-45 to Hilliard Darby. So, wow.
Went to OT. Berlin, it's going to be tough for them, but I think they'll be able to figure it out. They got a couple favorable non-conference games coming up, so hopefully they can get a win and get some momentum going there and
build some confidence.
Ride that out through the rest of the season.
Wellington, 72-57 over Horizon Science. Let's see, finish this up here. Centerburg, 46-32 over Daneville.
West Jeff, 77-40 over Triad. West Jeff's a team, Division III, the Rough Riders, another team. They're kind of the cousins of London, per se, on the western edge of Central Ohio. They got a squad. They have a kid, Ben Casey, who is a junior that's putting up big numbers right now. He had 29 and 12 last Friday and then 34 points last Tuesday. So London's got some players. Their only loss is to Fairbanks, and Fairbanks is another team in Division III that's kind of rural that is playing really well. So keep an eye on West Jeff as well. West Jeff has some players. It's probably the first time in a while that West Jeff and London are both some major players, in their division. So
that'll be a big game.
I'm going to have to take some trips, out to Lily Chapel Road and go check out some of those schools out there. So shout out to London and West Jeff.
Absolutely, man. Let me see. Just finishing up here. Highland, 54 over Cardington, 28. North Union, 61 over Indian Lake, 46. Fairbanks 57 over Northeastern 40. Madison Plains Madison Plains, another school in that area. Yep. They lose last night 38-51 to Greon. And Bishop Hartley and DeSales, another game that we're going to talk about in our pick 6, but Hartley is going to be heavily involved in the show today.
Oh yeah.
But they take the loss last night,
for DeSales,
50-47.
They have full control of the CCL now. They're the only team without a loss in the CCL. They're rolling. They haven't taken a loss yet. They got some pretty good wins over teams like Beechcroft and Hartley and Watterson and Bloom Carroll. they struggled last year, but those young guys, they seem to grow up in the district tournament, and they're riding that out through this season. Pat Murphy's a second-year coach. I think he's got more control of the team this year than he did last year. So DeSales is a team in Division II. If they keep it rolling like this, they may be the top seed in that second bracket opposite of South. So the Division II district tournament is going to be really fun this year.
I was going to say, talking about DeSales, we're talking about Hartley, we're talking about South High, we're talking about, a lot of good teams in Division II in this area for sure.
Absolutely.
Before we get into the pick six, do we have some comments out there? People checking in? Let's go.
Let's go to Facebook. We got a couple comments. The first from my dad says, "Happy birthday, Zach. Love, Mom and Dad." Thank you. I appreciate that. Manning Bumgarter, my guys, Christmas break, ACT special. Contact Manning if you want to get some ACT help. Jeremiah Hunter said, "Jordan Hunter, big game, 16 points, 10 dimes. Jordan Hunter plays at Marion Franklin. They took the loss to Briggs last night." Adam McCall Sr. says, "First-time watcher. This is great. Great job, fellas. Thank you." Scott Bradley also comments and says, "Love this." So, anyone that's watching, thank you guys. Jacob Brandween chimes in. He's helping us on the back end with scores this year for 270 Hoops. He says, "Good stuff, man." Shout out to him. On the YouTube side, a couple comments. Lucius Jones, Julian Binford dropped a dub, I heard. Kavion Ross, another big fan of Kavion Ross, and then the Massey dunk in the Northland Beechcroft game. I got a video sent to me of that. Very powerful. Quite a few comments in here.
Hey, real quick, man, let me hop in here real quick, man. This is my fault. I was remiss to do this at the beginning of the show, but we do have the birthday boy up here, man. Many blessings to you, brother, man. Happy birthday to Zach Fleer here, man. Shout him out on all your social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, wherever you can catch him at, man. But it's your birthday, man.
It's my Saquon Barkley year.
Yeah, 26 years old, man.
Yeah, I'm closer to 40 than I am, 12. So
many people, they think you're older or younger. What's up, man?
People think I'm older, definitely.
This is a young man with a lot of knowledge, man. I'm happy to have him on my side, man. Happy birthday to you, brother. Enjoy the rest of the day. Many blessings for many more, for sure.
I'll be covering 5 basketball games a day, so
I'll be there with you for a couple of those.
I'm not resting on my birthday, that's for sure.
All right, man.
To the grind.
Let's get into the pick six, man. Okay. We do this every week. We find 6 games that we feel is, in our opinion, the top games that you should follow along with this week.
And we try to make sure every conference gets at least one game and some recognition. So, we don't want to make it too OCC heavy or too City League heavy or too CCL heavy. If there's a big game in the Mid-State League or the Licking County League, we're going to throw it in here and try and give everybody the representation that they deserve. So
all basketball matters. All conferences matter for sure. So let's get this going, okay? This segment is brought to you by Just Hoops by Shootaway. Just Hoops is a basketball training facility located in Powell, Lewis Center, just 10 minutes from Interstate 270 off Route 23. If you haven't been there before, you need to check this out, okay? The facility has 10 shoot-away guns for players to maximize their shooting reps while also featuring ball handling stations and Vertimax training. Again, if you haven't seen the Vertimax, it's a pretty unique piece of equipment. You guys want to check that out. Yeah. And young ladies as well. Everybody can train on it. On top of that, Just Hoops has a tremendous staff of coaches developing players on all levels. Just Hoops offers a free trial session for first-time visitors. Check them out at justhoopscolumbus.com. That is justhoopscolumbus.com. Again, and we're here, the Just Hoops COHR Pick 6 games of the week. Man, let's get into the first game. Game number 1, Northland versus Beechcroft. Beechcroft gets the victory, 67-62. I was surprised when I talked to you this morning about it. I thought
Simmonses, man.
Yeah, man.
The Simmonses just
they're like gremlins, man.
They're into beating Northland lately, so
they get hot on the basketball court and they just multiply.
And it wasn't Niall, it was Jalen. So it was Jelani's little brother, Jalen JJ Simmons, 7 threes, 25 points, big time performance for him. That's a great win for Beechcroft because they started off the City League action losing to Centennial in kind of heartbreaking fashion, giving up a big lead in the fourth quarter. So for them to beat Northland, again, I mentioned it a little earlier, every team in the City League North has a loss. It's going to be tough sledding. No one's going to dominate that conference. So if Beechcroft can continue to get some performances like that out of Jalen Simmons, they also have a couple guys, Davon Wooden and James Delaney, are 2 guys that really didn't even play any varsity last year that have had some big games lately. So
they had double figures last night, both of them. Davon Wooden had 14.
Davon was an all-state defensive back. So they beat Linden on Tuesday, and he had 5 steals within like the first 2 minutes of the game.
Always good to have some football players out there, man. They bring
So
that
they got
toughness, that edge.
Beechcroft has guards now. They still have Niall Simmons in the post, who's having probably the best year of his career. They got players, man. So if they can keep playing like this, we could see them back in the City League Championship.
Let's talk about Northland now. What kind of loss is this for Northland? Will they be able to recover? Are they going to be a team that, ultimately can take control of the City League North and get back to another city championship?
I mean, that's tough. They probably didn't expect Jalen Simmons to go off the way he did. I think they'll be fine. They still have one of the toughest leaders in the City League North, and Nikili Elmore. And Mikhail Massey's a sophomore that still getting his feet wet. He missed his whole freshman year with the torn ACL. So I think they'll be fine. Every game's going to be a gauntlet in that division, so they just got to make sure they don't slip up to teams that they should definitely beat. The next matchup, I'll be at the next Beechcroft Northland game because it's going to be a war. So who knows? They could be right in contention once again. So they'll be able to compete at the top of that division in the North because there's really not any team that's truly dominant.
I do like how the North is playing out, though. I like all these teams being competitive. I like teams that haven't been to the city championship in a while.
Having parity up there finally.
Yes, having an opportunity.
The last 20 years, it's been dominated by Brookhaven and Northland. Last year was thoroughly dominated by Beechcroft. Now we could finally have a City North champion that has more than one loss.
Absolutely.
I don't think we've had that in probably since you were in high school. It's been a long time. So
let's take it back. We say
take it way
90s.
back.
Yeah,
back when I probably wasn't even born yet. But
that made me feel good, man. Back when I was in high school.
When you were in high school, back in what was that? Early 90s.
Early 90s, 93, man.
You went to South, right?
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on Marion Franklin in high school?
Marion Franklin, man. Kurt Simmons, shout out Kurt Simmons, Sean Wilson, man. They had a great team. But it was Linden, man. It was still the North, man.
Sean Wilson could jump back in the day, right?
Oh, yeah.
So,
jump,
funny story. So my former boss, Alvin Poindexter, who's now at Georgesville Nissan, came into my office yesterday and was talking about, because he played at Briggs.
Okay.
And he said they were playing Marion Franklin once, and Lamont Barnes blew an assignment, and Alvin came over on the weak side, and Sean Wilson just bodied him.
Hey,
he said he went to slap the ball. He lost the ball, picked it back up, and still dunked on him. Called the foul on Alvin. But there was no YouTube back then. So.
No YouTube, but I would say for those that were there, it was a lot of bodies caught when you ran up against Marion Franklin. Yeah. A lot of them. Let's get into game number 2 of the Pick Six, man. Brought to you by Just Hoops. This was a big game last night. I felt like you talked about it. One team was coming in with no wins in the conference. But the other team, I feel like, in my opinion, might have the best player in Central Ohio right now. Olentangy Liberty versus Westerville North. Liberty gets the victory, 71-63. Ben Roderick with another big game, but he was challenged on the other side by another impressive guard.
Yeah, so Jeremiah Keene had 33 points last night. I believe 7 assists, 5 steals. Probably the best all-around game that he's played all year.
Mm-hmm.
And Westerville North led 33-23 at halftime. And Liberty really didn't start to take control until the third quarter. Henry Hinkle was a sophomore that knocked down 4 threes in a row in that quarter, and that's when they really started to take control, scoring 40-plus points in the second half is never easy. So Liberty, Roderick had 32. Ben Roderick had 32 once again. But to have guys like Henry Hinkle stepping up, Nick Nakashian stepping up, that's going to be a tough out. They're undefeated in league play. So when you have a dominant matchup like Ben and then you have other guys that are capable of making plays, it's a recipe for success for Liberty.
They did get some help last night. Westerville North did double figures with Charles and Chance Perkins, both with 11 and 10 respectively. But I want to say this, man. Phillip Austin, you've got to get more than 6 points, man.
Yeah.
He's a physical specimen, big.
They need him. Inside. He's got to be their second guy.
Absolutely.
If they want to compete at a high level, which they're fully capable of, they have all the talent in the world. Austin has to be that dude to step up and give them double numbers. He's capable of it. He is capable of it too.
Inside, outside. Keene outside, Austin inside. You know what I mean? I feel like you can have a good recipe to get some wins and climb back in this thing as we progress throughout the year. Let's talk about Olentangy Liberty. Let's talk about Ben Roderick, how he's leading this team. Look, in my opinion, I feel like playing. Look, Ron Cameron is scoring the most. I love how Liberty plays. I love what Ben Roderick does for this team.
Yeah. So Ben, he's the guy. They really don't have another dude that is capable of creating their own shot and scoring off the bounce. So for Ben, he gets all the shots that he wants. He's got probably the biggest green light of anybody in Central Ohio, and he can score like that. So sometimes he relies on the three ball a little too much. He did that. I saw him on Saturday. They still won by 25, but he can kind of fall in love with shooting that three.
Yeah.
Right now, with the strength that he's put on, no one can really stop him getting to the basket.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's what he has to do at this high school level, is attack the offensive glass and get those second chance points and high percentage shots. And he's been doing that, obviously, if you don't average 30 points by accident. So
physically, I did like, how he's put the weight on his body. Maybe not as explosive. He's not going up with those, jams every,
right.
like he did once. But he'll get that explosiveness in this back, again, coming off the ACL injury. But I just love how this team is playing. Again, individuals who chipped in with double figures last night. Nick, can you help me with it last night? McCashian chipped in with 13, and Henry Hinkle chipped in with 18 as well to help lead Olentangy Liberty past Westerville North. So let's get into game number 3, okay? Again, Hartley's going to be heavy within the show today, but our third game of the Pick Six was DeSales versus Hartley. Close game, tight game last night. We kind of expected this. Hartley with one of the best players in Central Ohio, in the state of Ohio, and you're going to hear from him later on, Morgan Safford. But it was DeSales last night who gets the victory, and they've got some really solid players in
they do.
a team over there.
With that game, DeSales jumped out to believe like a 21-7 run, and then Hartley fought back real hard and closed it before the second half. Went back and forth in the second half. DeSales just had more guys, I think, stepping up and providing some offense for them. Anthony Sharoni especially is a senior that has played 4 years. He played a role off the bench as a freshman. The last couple of years hasn't really had to score, like he did last night. He had 16 points last night, played one of his better games. And for teams like that, when you're going up against a quality opponent like Bishop Hartley, you need other guys to step up, and DeSales got that with Sharoni, and then Kyan Durden as well had another solid game. So
3 guys in double figures: Kyan Durden 12, Kobe Ryder 10, and again Anthony Sharoni you talked about with the big game last night, 16. So just real quick, your outlook for DeSales, because they've had some big games. They've now got pretty much a tight grip on the CCL, kind of looking forward. Do you expect them to be able to maintain this going through, or can they get some challenges from Watterson, St. Charles? And again,
no game in the CCL is easy. And CCL games, if anyone has ever paid attention to the CCL, the second game is completely different from the first game. These teams, they improve so much throughout the season, and those CCL games in late January and February are always battles. So DeSales is going to get the gauntlet thrown at them. Bishop Hartley is going to have something for him the second time. Watterson's going to have something for him because they took him to overtime. Young teams like St. Charles and Bishop Reedy are going to continue to improve. So the target's on their back now. They're in first place. They're going to get everybody's best shot. So they got seniors. It's going to be up to them to continue to play at this level. But if they can keep this up, D2 is going to be a battle, man. It's all these teams. Hartley's in D2, Watterson's in D2, DeSales is in D2. And then South, obviously, at the top. So
let's talk about Hartley, and let's talk about what they can look forward to after taking a tough loss last night. Morgan with 21. But we keep talking about this and finding teams that get other guys in double figures, other guys to help. Last night, he got 10 points from Peyton Collins and then 8 points from Chase Albanese. But a little short there. What can Hartley do to kind of get some help around Morgan and elevate this team to what the potential that we think they have? Well,
for Hartley, their biggest challenge in the first part of the season is they always go deep in football season, and they have a team that about half these guys played football. So Peyton Collins was, they had Garrett Tipton, who's now at Bellarmine last year. Garrett, Morgan, and Peyton were the top 3 last year. And Peyton had a great junior season. He's still not really in basketball shape yet. So I think by January, when he kind of gets his basketball legs underneath him and gets ready for that second half of the CCL, you could see a different Hartley team. I think Hartley in February is going to be much different than they were early in the season, and it was like that last year. This was a team that struggled kind of early on and made it all the way to the district finals and gave Beechcroft a good run. But the biggest thing for Hartley is, from what I've seen, in that first South game, Morgan was ready to go, but it seemed like those other guys were a little intimidated. They got to you can't have any fear going into any of these games, and they need those other guys to step up, especially those underclassmen, to take advantage of the moments they have on the floor. Because if you're an upperclassman and you're struggling and you're dealing with turnovers, like you can't
win.
You can't mess up in those limited chances you get. So those guys just have to be ready to play when their number's called, and if they can have a couple of those underclassmen, the guys like P.J. Daniels, who's capable of being a primary guy for this team.
Yes,
I think they'll have a chance to really improve in the second half, and he's capable of it too. He's just got to get back to playing the game that he knows.
And it's like you said, they're going to be better later, but they've already faced basically some of the teams that they're going to face once we get to the tournament. So I agree with you as well. I think this team will find their groove. They'll figure out a way to get everybody involved, and they'll be a lot better later. Let's move on to the next game of our Pick 6, game number 5, because we still got games today that we'll tell you about later on. That's coming up today on this Saturday. But game number 5 of the Pick 6, okay, Reynoldsburg was at home against Pick Central. Pick Central, they bring in the high-flying team, Jay Rogers and Sam Towns, and you got Javon Garcia. But Reynoldsburg, man, I thought they were in this game. Pick Central gets the victory. I was there last night. I want to just hear your thoughts on both teams, and I'll tell you what I seen last night, and maybe a way that Reynoldsburg can utilize more talent, the talent that they have on the team, and maybe they can provide a tougher match next time.
Reynoldsburg has, they have probably a top 5 roster in the area, I think, just with the athletic pieces they have and the length that they have. But like you mentioned, like we've talked about with some of these other teams, it can't just be Ben Fort. And they have to find a way to get guys like Sami Willoughby involved, Sean Moore involved, Sean Strickland, Nick Wallace, and there's other seniors that they have. Or it's going to be tough because the OCC Ohio is a war every single night, just about. Pick Central, they have athletes, they have guys that are just going to throw at you. And for someone like Ben Fort, you were there last night. I mean, I'm sure he was getting multiple defenders throughout the night.
He was, man. Reynoldsburg, I saw Reynoldsburg play twice now, okay, in person. Once against Gahanna with a stud at the point guard position, somebody who puts a lot of pressure on teams both offensively and defensively from that position. And then last night, there was no break there with Javon Garcia and the backcourt that they have as well over at Reynoldsburg. Talik Walker, I thought, was fantastic defensively. Didn't score a lot of points, but he was definitely –
that's his role, man. He is the 3-and-D guy for them, and he fills it very well.
But this is what I want to say about Reynoldsburg, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Willoughby, okay? Big guy in the middle, number 10. This guy, I feel like, can be a double-double guy.
Yeah,
there's no reason that he shouldn't be able to go out, get 12, 15 points, 10-plus rebounds. I feel like Reynoldsburg, last night in the game, Sean Strickland, football player, wide receiver, great on the gridiron, but he didn't play 1 minute in the third quarter. They needed some help in the backcourt. He's one of those positionless guys, like a Draymond Green, kind of big body, not necessarily the height, but I feel like he could have been a bigger factor in that game. They had some trouble with turnovers in the third quarter. A couple steals led to easy baskets for Pick Central. Reynoldsburg fought their way back into it, man. And look, they had 3 guys in double figures. Ben Fort was led them with 15, Willoughby with 11, Sean Moore with 11, but it wasn't enough, man, just to overcome what Pick Central brings to the table, especially
you need to beat Pick Central, you need those role players to step up and have the best games of their season. For Reynoldsburg, that didn't happen last night. They still were in it. They only lost by 7.
Yes. And I don't want to let Reynoldsburg off the hook, man, because we talk basketball, we talk fundamentals, we talk a lot of stuff, we hear a lot of stuff. Me and you both do. Reynoldsburg last night in the fourth quarter, not good from the free throw line. Those are the easiest points that you can possibly have. You're at home. You've got to make those shots. I believe at one point in time they were 2 for 10 from the free throw line in the fourth quarter. Too many good players on that team. You got to make those free throws. And I believe if they just do that, man, they have a great opportunity to pull off an upset against one of the best teams in the state of Ohio.
Yeah, it's those secondary guys have to step up. I think they'll figure it out. They have a team with a lot of guys who didn't play a whole lot last year because that senior class was pretty deep. So for people like Xavier Prince and Sean Strickland and Nick Wallace that are now being expected to be primary guys, Josiah Mobley, especially, it's going to take an adjustment. I think Reynoldsburg will be fine by the second half of the season. But like you mentioned, they just got to knock those free throws down, and then someone like Sami Willoughby, got to find a way to get him a little more involved because he's got one of the best motors in the area. He's long, athletic, physical.
He is.
Can really give you a lot at the high school level. So I think they'll figure it out, but it's not going to be easy because now they got to go to Pick Central the second time around and go to Gahanna, and
It's gonna be tough.
the top 4 of that division is unbelievable. So it's going to be every game in the OCC Ohio is going to be a test for them.
They have players though. Reynoldsburg has players. Let's talk about Pick Central real quick, man. Javon Garcia, the point guard, we're going to see him, here in a minute, man, making some explosive plays. But I was impressed with Sam Towns, man, long, athletic, does a little bit of everything. He's not the strongest guy, so,
right.
I like to see him, get closer to the rim on some shots, man. But he's really good. Jay is really talented. What is the upside for Pick Central, man, talking basketball?
Well, it's going to depend on the eligibility of Jay Rogers and Sam Towns. Last I heard, they were going to be ineligible for the second half of the season. Coming back from Springfield, even though they have lived in Pick Central the whole time. Pick Central attended zone. If they're not available for the second half of the year, it's going to be a challenge for them because they have depth, but those are 2 primary guys that in these big games as of late, they've really stepped up. Sam especially. At 6'8", his length is a game changer.
Yes, it is.
He closed out the game with a couple big dunks last night, and he's just rangy. He can guard on the perimeter. He can guard in the post. He's long. He affects shots at the rim. If they don't have him, it's going to be tough because they really don't have another, shot challenger in the low post. Colton Landis is solid, but he's not someone that's going to block a lot of shots.
He got in foul trouble last night. Somebody that I thought was making a name for themselves last year, and maybe they just got lost in the shuffle when that happens sometimes. Yeah. Jaden Lipscomb, he was a really good shooter last year. I haven't seen him really get in a rotation or find a rhythm. So, maybe if they can get him going as well, that'll help out this already low team.
It's kind of that way last year. At times he didn't play a whole lot, but in the big games, especially against Hilliard Bradley, his shooting came in, to really make an impact in that game. He knocked down 2 threes in the fourth quarter. For him, he's a tough kid. He's a hard worker. I think he's going to find a way to find his niche and get back in the rotation, but he's a shooter. So if he's not making shots, it'll be tough for him to stay on the floor, but I think he'll be able to, solve it and get back on the floor and give the team, what he's capable of. And, if Jay Rogers isn't available in the second half, he's going to have to step up and be one of those guards that fills that role. So,
and again, they're doing all this without the great Jeremiah Francis. Yes. He was at the game last night, the North Carolina.
Shout out to Jeremiah too for being hurt, not being able to play, but he's still involved with the bench and still involved with the team and giving those guys a leadership role in different ways since he's not able to play.
I didn't get a chance to talk to him.
That's a great kid, man. I feel so bad that he's not able to play. I definitely miss watching him because he was an all-world talent. So
absolutely, we'll get him on here, man. Have him chop it up with us, man, about how he's rehabbing and everything. So that was a big game last night. Reynoldsburg, they take the loss. Pick Central, loaded with talent. We'll see how all this plays out with the transfers. Go get the 270 Hoops magazine. You can read about what exactly is going on there, and it's a great read also. We got 2 more games left in the Pick Six, okay, because I want to get to our interview. I'm excited to talk to this young man, Morgan Safford from Hartley. But let's talk about the last 2 games. Hilliard Bradley versus Springfield. That's going to be tonight at the COHSS versus
Cancer Classic.
Cancer Catholic.
And then Jonathan Alder South will be there too.
Jonathan Alder South. Let's talk about Jonathan Alder South. Let's get the Bulldogs more love, man. Look, everybody they've been in front of, that they put in front of, they've defeated.
Yeah.
Coach Spears over there. Some people are saying this is his most talented team. I don't know if that's what it is, but they're playing well as a group, as a unit together, getting tremendous seasons from Trey Watkins,
Marcus Johnson,
Travell Adams, even as
and the thing is,
backup.
We haven't mentioned this yet on the show. Is they lost 7 seniors last year, and it was like no drop off. These guys came in first time starters. Guys like Taquan Symington,
yes,
and Samuel Barton, especially in the post. We haven't really talked about Sam a lot. I think Sam's filled his role perfectly. He's just kind of the trash man, just the gritty guy on the block that's going to rebound and play defense and make the shots when he gets them. So they're loaded. Jonathan Alder has their best team in a while.
What can we expect from Jonathan Alder?
They're going to play – it's going to be a slow, composed game. They're going to pick their spots well. They're going to take good shots. I last saw Jonathan Alder at the Dayton team camp in June, and they beat Harvest Prep, and that was a fully loaded Harvest Prep. Alder's got tons of shooters, so South's going to make sure they get out, close out in those shooters, limit turnovers especially because Jonathan Alder's going to try and slow the game down and value each possession. So they got guards, they got size, they got wing players. Jacob Koenig is their guy in the backcourt, but they have two other guards in Jackson Izzard and Jackie Santa Emma, who are just smart guys who can make shots. And then in the post, they got a senior, Henry Walker, who's about 6'6", that's going to play a big role in tonight's game. So that's the game I'm most excited about today.
Yes.
In Division II, I think it could be a potential district final, preview for what we get in D2. And if Jonathan Alder can knock them down, it'll be an upset, but they could be the number one team in D2 if they're able to knock South off. But I think South is favored here, but Jonathan Alder's, they're no slouch. They're going to be right there and competing all game long. So.
And these teams know each other.
They do. They play every year. So
yes.
This one is the magnitude's a little bigger with it being at Capitol and on a bigger stage. So 4:45, I believe, is the tip-off time. The last time South played, on a neutral site against a D2 power, they took down Hartley. So it's going to be another test for them. They've loaded that schedule up to start the season. And if they can notch another big win like that, it's going to be real good for them going forward.
Let's wrap it up. Springfield taking on Hilliard Bradley tonight. Hilliard Bradley, again, this is a school I don't think gets enough love. They're off to another tremendous start in basketball. What can we expect tonight at the Coaches versus Cancer
So for
Classic?
Bradley, I've heard that they could have a couple front court players that might be out that suffered some, ankle injuries yesterday. I won't go into who those guys might be, but if they do lose some of that physicality and that toughness up front, it's going to be hard because Springfield is a team full of mainly football players that are athletes that play an aggressive style of basketball and want to get to the basket and punish you on the inside. So if Bradley has to play small ball tonight, it's going to be tough, but this is one of arguably the most well-coached team in the area.
Mm-hmm.
They play probably the best team defense in the area, and my favorite thing about Bradley is their team mentality, man. They don't care who scores the bucket. They don't care who scores the most. They just care if the team scores. And it's going to be if a guy like Matalaka was a little shorthanded tonight, this could be a showcase to see just how good he really is if he has to put the team on his back a little more than usual.
That'd be a good one. Okay, look, that is going to wrap up our Pick 6 segment brought to you by Just Hoops. But I do want to let you know this from Just Hoops as well. Their new technology allows Just Hoops to track every shot each player takes. So we can say at the end of the month, the week, or the year how many shots they put up, from what spot on the floor, and what their percentage is from that spot. It also has a leaderboard so you can compete with others. So Just Hoops, a lot of technology for basketball players.
The cool thing about that, too, is they can, like you mentioned, they can track every shot. So you can see where you're really struggling from or where your hot spots are. And for players, that's a good tool to have because then you have some actual data to see just how you're shooting and what you got to improve on. So some guys that have been there a lot. We talk about Sean Marks a lot.
Yes.
Bakayan Durden is a guy who's there a lot. Tyrese Huey's a guy who's there a lot.
Andre Irvin, you talk about
Andre Irvin especially, yes. Yeah. He's an Olentangy kid, so he's there all the time. The proof is in the pudding. All those guys are, arguably the top 1, 2, or 3 best players on their team. So, again, if you haven't been out to Just Hoops, check it out. First visit is free. So if you've never been there before, you can get some shots up the first time, test it out, and, get a free trial there for a little bit. So check out justhoops.com.
Let's go get some shots up. All right, man. Let's get to the fun part of what we do on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, man. And I know you got a lot more information to get to, but I want to kind of get into this and we can wrap up, with your stars of the night, your top scores and everything. But let's have some fun, man. Bishop Hartley High School, all right, known for football. But this time, man, we're going to change the platform a little bit, man. We got one of the best basketball players in the state of Ohio, a young man whose name, it rings bells around here on the summer circuit, right now in high school.
Especially in the fall league, for sure.
Absolutely, man. This is a legitimate prospect out there to play on the next level, and that is Morgan Safford from Bishop Hartley. Morgan, man, welcome to the show. Good morning. How you doing today, man?
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Doing good.
All right, man. Zach, man, go ahead.
All right, Morgan, we're going to get straight into last night. What happened in that game? What are your thoughts on how it went? And, what did you see from DeSales in that matchup yesterday?
I think we improved a lot, especially handling pressure. Like, against South, we struggled a little bit handling pressure, but I think DeSales trapping us a lot. We did a lot better with that. So I think we improved. We got our team chemistry is getting better. And like you said earlier in the show, like, we're a second like half team like in the second half of the season. So I think now we're just trying to get our football players together, learn everything. So I think we'll start moving towards tournament time.
And then you know, this is the first time that you've been the guy. You know, last year you had Garrett, and the year prior you had Garrett kind of being the leader on the team. How has your role changed this year, and what are some differences you're seeing in just how you have to lead and, you know, talk to your teammates and just get the team in order?
I think, like, since we have a lot of younger guys just trying to come in, people that haven't played varsity a lot, it's just me teaching them how things goes and just being a good, positive leader and always being there to pick up the pieces, like when stuff doesn't go as planned or as well. So I think it's just me just being always there to, like, encourage them and congratulate them when good things happen.
All right, I like to find out about young people, how it started. You know, where did this passion, this love come from? So, Morgan, man, I wanna take you back, man, to a young man, a young Tyler out there. Where did the love of basketball come from? Were there other sports involved? Did you play baseball, football, or was this always? Has this been a dream from a young man? You get the basketball in your hands, and you know this is how you want to move forward.
I think when I was younger, I was a great baseball player. Like, that was my first love. But, like, I just decided to choose basketball. And I always think, like, my dad started it. Like, I started young. Like, he played, so I always looked up to him. So, but now I'm just in love with basketball, and this is what I want to do going forward.
Talk to me a little bit about baseball. We see a young man like I'm going to just go to the pros here, but we see Patrick Mahomes, whose dad was a baseball player. He has this incredible arm, but he transitioned that to football. Just talk about the sport of baseball. What did you like? What did you not like as much as somebody that's now on the basketball court and you just up and down the court and dunking and layups and everything like that? Talk about the similarities and the differences.
I think, like, baseball's like a strategy game sometimes. So, like, I like that, and especially with basketball, like, it correlates. But I think sometimes when I was playing baseball, especially being outfield, it was, like, really boring. So, like, I
played outfield too, man. So you can go a whole game and the ball not get hit to you.
Yeah, so I just had to find something that was fun. And I didn't like football because I didn't like getting hit. So I just decided something that was fun for me.
You should have kept with baseball. Were you a righty or lefty when you were
I was definitely righty.
You were righty. So there's a short porch there in about left center field at Hartley. I played there probably 10 times growing up. But no, that's cool. I mean, we don't run into a lot of guys who play baseball anymore, especially on the basketball side. So it's good to see someone, you know, obviously you play basketball only now, but I didn't know that about you. So that's always, you know, a reason we get kids up here and we learn things about people we didn't know. So
absolutely.
That's really cool. I've really enjoyed watching you the last couple of years.
Thank you.
You dominated our fall league, scored probably 400 points in the last 2 seasons. What was it like this year, you know, just putting up the numbers that you did in that fall league? Was it just different from anything you've experienced, or what was your mentality going into all those games?
I think this year I just had, like, a different mentality, a more chip on my shoulder because, like, I didn't play a lot in the spring. So, like, people kind of doubted me or put me behind other players. So I just felt like I had to prove myself once again. So I just put that chip back on my shoulder and said, let's grind.
Let me piggyback off the fall league, okay? When you get into high school, you know, everybody splits into their divisions, Division 1, Division 2, and so forth and so on. What is it like? Was Zach, you know, when he provides this platform to have all the best players in the area right there in one gymnasium, and you can test your skills against the other really good players, the Dominic Penns, the C.J. Anthonys, the Von Cameron Davises of the world. How do you know? What is that feeling when you get a chance to say, hey, you know, I'm one of these guys too?
I think it's a great feeling, especially, like, a lot of them are my friends, like testing my skills that I worked a lot over the summer against. So it's like a testing ground for, like, what you're going into the season and how hard you really worked over the summer.
That's for sure. For you, you brought it every week, so we do appreciate you know, your consistency and your commitment to the league. But off the court, you know, I was watching the news last Sunday night. I'm on NBC4
sure.
On the couch with my wife. She's like, "Hey, there's Morgan," and I look up, and sure enough, Morgan Stafford giving out you know, meals to people in need. So just explain what did you guys do this weekend, and what has been your impact and role within that organization for the last, you know, 10 years or so?
So, like, we give, like, toys to, like, especially, like, around the holiday season to kids that are less fortunate than I am or my team. Like, we provide them meals that will last them through, like, the holiday season. So I think I just been involved with my mother since probably like 10 years ago, since she started doing this. And I just think, like, as a Christian, it's like kind of my obligation to give back to the community because God has given so much to me. So I think that's what I have to do in this world.
Just talk about having an impact in the community. When you can go out and provide things to the less fortunate, how does that make you feel inside, just knowing like, hey, you know, I have this thing that I love over here, basketball and sports, but having an opportunity to give back to the community, just talk about what that makes you feel like on the inside.
It just like gives me like butterflies, and like I'm happy inside because like when you go to like those people's houses and give them stuff, like, and you see the smile on the kid's face because they might not have a Christmas, so like when they see them smiles and they just get happy that they finally get a toy. So yeah.
That's awesome.
It is, man.
That's
definitely.
awesome. We appreciate that. You know, that takes a lot of selflessness. So it's great to see kids involved early and being fortunate for what they have and, you know, giving back. So congratulate you with that platform that your mom has helped you provide. And you were great on the news too. So you had a good interview. If I was, you know, 17 and I had a news camera in my face, I probably wouldn't be as sharp as you were. So shout out to you for that.
Yeah, let's just, you know, if we can go back into basketball a little bit, I kind of just want to talk about Hartley, just a school. Just talk about, look, I have, but I like to make all you guys do, or young ladies, is a PSA just about education, okay? You're going to have the opportunity to play basketball at the next level, and it's only because of what kind of student you are, and that is really, you know, what's giving you, you know, outside of your play, but great play without grades. You know, we see how some of those young people can get left behind. Just talk about how important education is, what Hartley provides you from a school perspective in that way, and just you know, some of your coaches and teammates.
I think education is probably the most important thing that you can have. Like my mom always tells me, like once you get that degree, nobody can take that piece of paper away from you. So I feel like that's why I always put a statement in on my education. You like see like nowadays like a lot of kids going one and done, and I said if I ever get that opportunity, I said I'm gonna stay all 4 years just to get my degree. And I think at Hartley they provide probably one of the best educations around. In Central High, like I'm challenged on a day-to-day basis, whether it's with classmates, teachers. I think we have some of the brightest minds as well to go along with it. And I think like especially my teammates are some really smart people, and like so like they push me to get better in class. We always talk when we're playing basketball, we always talk about like what's going on in school. Like, man, this teacher they're struggling right now in this class, I gotta get this grade up. So I think that environment growing up, especially going through high school, like really helps me for the future.
Absolutely, for sure. CCL education is never easy. How do you feel that, you know, the classes you're taking and the teachers you're surrounded with are preparing you for college on an academic standpoint?
I just feel like they're preparing me. Like Hartley's a college prep school, so I feel like they're preparing me the best. Like this year, I'm taking like a lot of harder classes to get me ready for college. Like I'm in AP Gov, and I think that's one of my hardest classes. Like, cause like it's every day we're sitting here looking at a trial or something that happens in government, and like sometimes it gets tricky, but like with the teachers that they're always there to help. Like Hartley is very helpful, and the teachers and the students are always there to pick you up when you need the help.
I do want to ask you that. So in any kind of sport, everybody works on their craft over the summer. You know, I need to work on my dribbling, or I need to work on my jump shot. Let's stay on education for a minute. How have you developed your habits from a freshman to where you are now to be able to take the AP classes and get you prepared for the next level? Because you know that's going to be even different challenge.
I think as a freshman, like I didn't know what was going on. Like as maybe like a 14-year-old playing varsity, like it was hard to juggle like academics and playing at the same time. So like I think over the years I learned a lot better with time management and asking for help. Like I think sometimes people are scared to ask for help, but I think that's one of like my biggest attributes that helped me is asking for help when I need it.
That is key. I mean, a lot of kids in college, myself especially, like when I was in high school, it was easy. And I got to college and I was scared to ask for help and, you know, ask questions to my professors because I was a little intimidated by them. So for you to have that quality now, it's going to serve you well, especially at the next level, because when you go to college, you're going to have professors that have done amazing things and they want to share everything that they know with you. So to have that quality now is really good, you know, for you as a student going forward. But on the basketball side, you know, if there's any college coaches that are watching this, how would you describe Morgan Stafford for someone who doesn't know who you are?
I think like on the inside, like I'm a goofy like kid. I'm still a child at heart. Like I enjoy having fun, but I know when it's time to put down the stuff and put down the childish things and get to business, like, and handle my stuff. Like that's what I'm most good at. So like that's what I would describe Morgan Safford. He's a goofy kid, but he knows when to put the hard work in.
Business lights. I like that. Let's hashtag that, business lights. All right. So I want to ask you two things, okay? We talked about the academic piece and how you have progressed from a freshman to a senior. Take me on the basketball court. Same thing. Tell me about freshman year and what have you developed? What are you most proud about where your game is now that you've seen it come from where you were as a freshman?
As a freshman, like I just had a role like getting the dirty points, playing defense, getting easy points. But I think now I've changed into more like I'm that guy or the go-to person. I just feel like I've worked on my craft so hard, and I feel like I'm just a scorer. Like I can score on all three levels, driving, mid-range, three. So I just feel like I developed all parts of my game through past 4 years.
You know, this year you're kind of the primary ball handler for Hartley. What's that change been like, you know, really being the point guard for them this year? Have you noticed anything different from the way defenses are approaching you and just basically how the games are going?
I think a lot like teams normally face guard me, so it's easier me being that point to get the ball in my hands and get other teammates involved. So I think as point guard this year, like I'm more focused on getting everybody involved as first and then worrying about myself. So that's how I feel like it's helped my game so I can do both going towards the next level.
All right, this has been great, man. I want to thank you again for coming. Like,
thank you for having me.
I just want to ask, just going forward, okay? This is your senior year. I know you want to make a mark, leaving Hartley as well. What is Hartley going to have to do as a basketball team? Who are some of your teammates that are going to have to step up for you guys to make a deep run when we get to this tournament later on in the year?
I feel like we can make a really deep run, especially this year. Like we have some good seniors. Like we're starting all seniors this year, so we have good leadership. Like Peyton Collins coming back, especially like he gained a lot of weight for football, so we just had to get him back in in basketball shape. And like we got some good wings like Braylon Mitchell, Ryan Huser, and Chase is coming back from starting this year. And we got Jordan back finally from not playing basketball for 2 years, so just getting him back in basketball mode, and especially some young guys like coming off the bench. Like we have Coach's son Kylan Quarter-Cracks and PJ Daniels. Like I think we just gotta get everybody's confidence on the same level and just worry about us right now, and then we'll worry about the tournament run later.
And then Hartley in the second half of the season, you know, like we mentioned earlier, it's a different team from probably December. What can teams expect from Bishop Hartley, you know, coming, you know, once those football guys are back in shape? How do you think this team's going to change in the second half of the year?
I think we're just going to be a better group of teammates. We're going to learn. We put in a new offense, so like I think we'll run our offense a lot better. Defenses, we're going to get up and down. We're starting to push the ball more, so I think like we're going to be a threat in all levels. Going to play defense, offense, and we're just going to try to wear you down physically.
All right. I always like to end the segment. I want you to shout out the people who have helped you get to this point. No one gets anywhere by themselves. So, you know, your mom is here today. You have an outstanding support system. So just talk about that, man, not only from Hartley, some of the people you want to shout out there, your friends, you know, maybe those not on the basketball court, and family members, all the people that you love. Like,
I want to shout out first my mother. I love my mom. Like, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for her. Like, that's my rock and my road dog. I also want to shout out, like, my boys, like the Snappers. Those are my homies. And just my family. Like, those are my, like, I'm a big family guy, so I'm always surrounded by good people.
That's awesome. Well, shout out to you, Morgan. We appreciate you coming on and
thank you.
Taking the time. Tell your dad I said what's up.
I will.
He tells me he was one of the best City League ballers in the 70s. So I see the talent has been passed down to you. So it's great having you on. Another excellent interview. I mean, my favorite part about these interviews is getting these young men on and, you know, having them talk about things outside of just basketball. Absolutely. Because we know these guys as the basketball players that we are, but I think a lot of times the individuals of these kids gets lost in the shuffle. So do appreciate you coming on. You got great head on your shoulders and, you know, great support system. So your parents have done an excellent job, you know, raising you to the young man that you are now.
Thank you.
We have no doubt that you're going to be extremely successful going forward.
Thank you.
Hey, we appreciate you, man. Thank you for coming on. That was Morgan Safford of Hartley. Again, one of the best basketball players, one of the best young men, not only in this area, but in the entire state of Ohio, man. So that was a pleasure. So let's get the show wrapped up, man. Like you always do, man. You got guys who's putting the ball of the basket
of the night.
Yeah,
so
stars of the night. Let's go.
We do this for the whole week, so this accounts from all games from Monday on. We have a guy at the top that is on here twice, and it's Dallas Patrick from Wellington, the senior guard.
Put him up, Dallas.
Dallas is balling right now. He's playing a little better than the Dallas Cowboys. Not getting shut out. So he had 42 points against Millersport on Tuesday and then 32 points against Horizon Science last night. He's the go-to guy, senior for the Jags. That they're a little shorthanded. They only got about 10 players on the whole roster this year. So Dallas is going to have to be the go-to guy, and he's done that really well. I believe he's fourth in the area in scoring right now at about 27 points. Another senior.
74 points in a week, man. That's
yes.
major.
That's major.
Man, go ahead.
Our second guy, Owen Hazelbaker from Johnstown.
What up, Owen?
35 points, 14 rebounds against Watkins Memorial on Thursday night, I believe. Johnstown's rolling. They're 3-0 right now. They held Northridge to 16 points last Saturday. They're playing great defense, but they have a stud in the post and on the wing with Owen Hazelbaker. He's committed to West Liberty, which is a Division II power. Going to play immediately there. He's not redshirting. They're going to need him next season.
Hey man, I love a double like 35 and 14.
Yes.
I love those, man. That's the kind of double you want right there.
Owen's a tough kid. Really love his game and just the way he plays. Third, Otto Coons, two-sport athlete, big time quarterback, really good on the basketball floor. He had 30 points against Circleville on Tuesday night. Bloom Carroll, they're struggling as of late. They lost to Liberty Union on Thursday night.
Okay.
It was the first time Liberty Union beat Bloom Carroll since 1996.
Wow.
So
that's taking it back again, too.
That's, way back. Bloom Carroll struggling, but Otto Coons has been, that guy who's been consistent for them. Benjamin James is another player in the City League. Independence High School, 33 points against Marion Franklin on Tuesday. Benjamin's playing some great ball. He had 33 points on Tuesday. Between Wednesday and Thursday, he picked up 3 JUCO offers within 24 hours.
Great job, Benjamin. Shout out to you, man. Hey, man.
Columbus State,
let
hockey,
this basketball pay
Edison
for
Community
you.
College. It doesn't matter the level, man. If you can get your college paid for in some capacity, it doesn't even have to be a full ride. Take that opportunity. Basketball is a privilege. Playing at the next level is a privilege. And if you get those opportunities, don't take them for granted. So shout out to Benjamin James. Independence is struggling a little bit, but he's been, a bright spot for them this whole season.
Great job, young man. Great job.
Talked about him a little earlier. Jeremiah Keene, 33 points last night against Olentangy Liberty. Hit some shots, got to the basket. He's having a great season. He's in the top 10 in scoring in the area. He's going to keep doing that because he's one of the most talented players in the league.
One of the fastest players in the area with the ball in his hand.
Yeah. Him and if I could get a race of him and Brandon Beavers, I think that would be the top 2 guys. Sean Jones too. Sean Jones is lightning quick.
Hey man,
as well.
let's just add the skills competition in the fall league or something. Man.
I think we're going to do it. I think we're going to do it for Balfour City. But Ben Roderick, 32 points. Mentioned him earlier against Westerville North.
Yes.
Averaging 30 a game. And then we can't forget about him. Von Cameron Davis had 31 points in both games this week. Led Walnut Ridge to 2 Ws. Von Cameron is leading the area in scoring at about 35.6 points per game. So those are our stars of the night. That's the top scorers from the entire week. If you go to 270hoops.com, on the homepage, you can find literally everything. And we have the top 30 scorers in the area that are listed on our homepage. So if you want to see who's putting up big numbers, go to 270hoops.com. It's on the homepage. You'll see the top scorers. This has been a crazy season. We're having guys put up numbers at levels that I haven't seen. Not this type of volume. We've seen guys score 40 here and there, but we have about 12 to 15 guys averaging 20 points per game plus right now. So defense is not there yet in the area, but the offense is going up. So
it's the new basketball, man.
It's
new basketball. Von Cameron, he's basically a walking 30 burger, right?
He wakes up with 30 points. So that's what he's been doing this year. It's kind of crazy. The lowest point total that he's had all year is 28, and that was against Olentangy Orange, and they got the W. So if you haven't seen Walnut Ridge yet, get them on your schedule. Von Cameron Davis is worth the price of admission, and he's having a great season.
Just real quick, man. I don't have the schedule in front of me. The games today at Capitol.
Yes.
Let's run down
up real quick.
Yeah. Let's see if we can pull that.
So
up.
Capitol, Anthony Golson is putting this on. It is the first or inaugural COHSS versus Cancer Classic. There's 5 games going on at Capitol. It starts at 1 o'clock. So Pickerington North takes on East at 1 o'clock. At 2:50, we have Cincinnati, Princeton, and Reynoldsburg. So for Reynoldsburg, they had to go to Newark, on Tuesday. They played Pick Central last night and the talented Cincinnati Princeton team today.
A chance to redeem themselves.
Yes.
A chance for redemption,
Yes.
to play better. Reynoldsburg, let's go out there. Come on.
And then at 4:40, Jonathan R. South on our Pick 6 talked about that one. Both teams are 5-0, so that's going to be a battle.
Big one.
6:30, we have Logan against Hilliard-Davidson. Logan's a team. They play in the Central District, but they're way out there. You know, they're closer to Athens than they are Columbus. They have a senior, Bo Myers, who's committed to Malone. Big-time shooter. It's going to be a great matchup. Hilliard-Davidson's got plenty of size and physicality, so we'll see how Logan adjusts to that. And then the final game there will be at 8:20 between Springfield and Hilliard-Bradley. Springfield has already played Pickerington Central and Upper Arlington. Now they get Hilliard-Bradley, so they're going through the Central Ohio Gauntlet to begin the year.
Hey, man, shout out to coaches scheduling games.
They might as
man.
well. They need to come to the Central District, man. It's as easy to get to Springfield from here as it is to get to, you know, Zanesville or Watkins Memorial, Tri-Valley, you know, schools that are in the area. So if we can get Springfield in the Central District, that would be awesome because they're playing a bunch of local teams anyways. So
yes,
those games are going on. There's some other big games in the area tonight. Columbus Academy is going to Bexley. Hamilton Township, Amanda Clear Creek in the MSL Buckeye Division. Hamilton Township is undefeated. Amanda Clear Creek is undefeated. That's going to be a big game. Amanda has the home site there tonight. So,
and shout out to Whitehall, man, coming off a big football year.
Yeah.
They're off to a good start, I see as well, man.
They got Grandview tonight. So
yeah, that's a big game.
They go to Grandview. We'll be covering that one. We're covering the 419 basketball tournament up at Ontario High School. 270 Hoops is all over Central Ohio. We're covering about 13 games this weekend. Again, go to 270hoops.com, go to the homepage, and we have every single league on the homepage broken up with all the latest news. So if you're a Licking County League fan or you're a MOAC fan, we got some coverage for you and some content to read. So check it out on 270hoops.com.
With that being said, man, this was another outstanding Saturday, man. I'm, Morgan Safford from Hartley, outstanding interview, outstanding young man. We got the Pick 6 presented to you by
another matchup tonight.
Yeah, go ahead. One more.
DeSales is going to Johnstown tonight.
Okay.
So both teams are undefeated. Little different styles there. It's a tough environment. You know, DeSales always plays out at Johnstown almost every year. They go back and forth. That's going to let us know where DeSales is at and where Johnstown's at because they're both – Johnstown's number 2 in D3, DeSales is number 2 in D2. We'll be covering that game too.
And DeSales is coming off a tough game last night versus Hartley. So this is the Central Ohio Hoops Report, man. Hey, follow everything. Follow 270 Hoops. Follow the Central Ohio High School Showcase on all the platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We're going to bring this every Saturday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Zach's got a wedding coming up, but we'll get past that. And his birthday today.
Jason
Happy
Morrow.
birthday again.
Jason Morrow is getting married a week from yesterday. He is the co-owner of 270 Hoops. He's the guy that does all the videos, a lot of the graphics, and really, you know, kind of built the website. He's getting married on Friday, next week on Friday, so we won't be back. I'll be gone next Saturday, so we'll come to you after Christmas, after the New Year's.
Yep.
But Jason's getting married. Shout out to Jason, his
Shout out
his
Morrow.
future wife, Teresa. I'll be there, best man for that. We got Mrs. 270, number 2, coming in. So I love weddings, and I'm really happy for Jason.
All right, man. It's the Central Ohio Hoops Report, man. Be good, man. We'll catch you after the New Year, man. We out.
We out. Merry Christmas.
Be good.